So this is, what we've got here is the internals of the windmill. Obviously the engine house, as I'll call it. So you typically got whatever number of sails at the outside there, which turn obviously in the wind, transmits power to the main wind shaft, which has mounted on at the brake wheel, which you'll be familiar with. So that brake wheel in then turns, rotates the wallower or the crown wheel, which then drives the vertical shafting, which has got on a coupling on each floor. So it's so called a brake wheel because of the brake band that goes around it, big steel brake band. It allows me to stop and start up the mill when need be. There's approximately, I believe, about between 14 and 15 tonne of weight in that cap. That cap sits on what's a curb gear, and it has a fan tail at the rear, which drives through a series of shaftings to the pinion drive, which is situated and runs off the top of the curb gear and allows the cap to rotate. It's an automated device that obviously we put on English mills in particular, because the English were hell-bent on wanting to automate and refine their milling practices. So they obviously then refine their mills to be somewhat self-operating. You know, I have a winch, windlass, again utilising the force of gravity. So in windmills, you or any milling operations, you utilise that force. So obviously the grain goes to the highest point, and then gravity feeds down through the whole milling process. So that winch works on its weight alone to drive the chain down. Then if I pull down, obviously the flywheel runs on the underside of the wallower. If the sails were turning, it will then lift up to 100 kilos of grain or flour, either up or down. So a device that you always need in a milling process and operations. Otherwise, certainly on days where I've got limited wind or no wind, I have to do it by hand, which is very tedious and back-breaking operation. So, so yes, the onion type cap, and in its nature is what this mill originally had on it. The mill itself was built in 1837. It wasn't a really over-successful mill in its day because it cost so much to build, so the premium by which they charged to mill the grain was excessive to where other mills had a lower milling rate. So a lot of people didn't come here for that reason. And there was 200 to 300 water mills throughout Tasmania at any one given time, so there was a lot of options. Right. There wasn't so many windmills down in Tasmania. So this is the only one that has really survived the stonework anyway. It ran, its last milling date was 1892, and after that it was left derelict. All right, and it's been restored. So it was burnt out in 1913, so a blacksmith actually ran his blacksmithing operations on the ground floor. He burnt it out. We're not sure whether it was purposely done or by mistake. Burnt out very quickly. As in all tower mills, you've got a draft effect, and that goes hand in hand with the fact of exhausting the flour dust up to this point. That's why it's called the dust floor. Flour dust would